Hi, this is Keith Weaver with the Top Executive Strategy Podcast, where CEOs, COOs, and business owners share strategies for success. This is 6 questions in 9 minutes because the best strategies are concise business advice. And so with that, we're going to jump right in. And first question, in a few sentences, tell us who you are and what you do.
Well, I am Steve Heumann, and I own Superhuman Creative. I spend most of my time either doing video work or writing novels, and that's what I've been doing for the past few years, and it's been a lot of fun to be able to control the world around me and to meet new people and to write books.
That's awesome. I admire creative people because I do not have much creativity, so that's awesome. All right, question number 2. What's the best thing about being a business leader?
For me, it's about being able to control my own destiny, being able to look and say, okay, what do I want to do today? Which project do I want to do? Obviously, I work with clients just like everybody else, but I'm able to kind of pick and choose and say, well, for the next few hours, I want to do something for me. I'm going to take a break and I'm going to work on a project that is mine. And then I'm going to get to theirs. It's being able to not work on someone else's time frame, but being able to create my own. And I absolutely love that freedom to be able to just kind of look and say, this is what today is going to look like, and have nobody be able to tell me no.
That is awesome. That freedom, that's top. All right. Question number 3. I hear from other leaders that a lot of times their people strategy can be more difficult than the actual business strategy they have in their business. What are your thoughts on that?
I would tend to agree. When you're working with other people, when you're working with clients, when you're working with other businesses, there's always, especially being creative, there's oftentimes differences in vision. And you've got to be able to navigate those and get to know the people and understand them a little bit more so that when they say something, you can understand what they're actually saying. Because some clients, they'll be very straightforward and they'll say, oh, well, this is what I want, boom, 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 boom. And it's fairly simple, but other times they'll say that, and at the end of the day, that's not what they want. And so you've got to get to know them. You have to understand them in order to get them what they need, whether it's video, whether it's, a book or an edit or something along those lines. You've got to know those people. And so I agree. That is the harder part about being a business leader, is being able to understand the people that you're working with and what they actually need and what they actually want.
And I like the aspect that you were talking about where really in that communication, there can definitely be people on different pages or different wavelengths, so to speak, and you have to line those up so everybody's understanding the communication.
Yeah, we've all been in those situations before where we've worked with someone that they tell us what they want and you do exactly what that is, but at the end of the day, it's not what they wanted. And so once you get to know them and you talk to them a little bit more, it then becomes easier. And you can say, okay, well, I know where I'm going to have to adapt, or I know where I'm going to have to put in extra time because they're going to have changes. But that understanding can really change your business.
Great. All right. Question number 4. What strategy would you like to share with other leaders?
One thing that I've found over the last few years as I've done this and as I've written and tried new things, from a business perspective, the importance, I've learned to understand the importance of failure. It was something before when I worked for other people that I had really no understanding of. I was afraid of it. I was just kind of like, oh, I'll do what I'm told and I'll put my head down and I'll get the job done. And now having my own business and going out there, I understand the importance of failure. I understand the need for it and looking and saying, okay, I failed at this, but I'm not going to let that stop me. I'm not going to allow that to put on the brakes of me personally or of my business. I'm going to move forward and I'm going to move past it. And the next time I'm not going to fail. And I found that the more that I've kind of understood that and the more that that's become just a part of my business and a part of how I think about things, I'm not as afraid to take risks. I'm not as afraid to look and say, hey, I'm going to try something. And if I fail, I fail, but I'm going to learn from it. And that has been the biggest thing. And I think it's something that we don't teach enough of. We teach people, especially teenagers and youth as they're growing up, that, oh, well, failure is terrible. Failure is bad. You're a failure and that's horrible. We need to change that. And we need to change it as business people. We need to change it in our families and say, failure is a part of life and you're going to fail whether you want it or not. You might as well look at it as, okay, I might fail at doing this, but that's not going to keep me from taking that risk. And that's not going to keep me from trying to grow and to learn and to progress. So yeah, I'm a big believer in kind of taking failure and saying, hey, let's turn it into success.
Well, and kind of like you said, it's one thing with children and with others to tell them that, but it's a lot harder to implement it and do it on a daily basis and live it, really.
Well, and like right now, I'm teaching an online video course for kids across the country because so many kids are in homeschool and are having to deal with that. And that's one of the key components. One of the early lessons is called the Pixar method, fail as fast as you can, because that's one of their mottos, is that you've got to fail in order to succeed. And so you've got to be able to take criticism, you've got to be able to learn. And if you're not willing to do that, then you will never progress. And I want to have those kids be able to understand that criticism is good, and that if you're listening to the people around you, people that you respect, that have a little bit more knowledge than you, take it, learn from it, and run, and you will run faster and farther than you would have otherwise.
Wonderful. All right. Question number 5. What other successful owners and CEOs like yourself would you like to acknowledge here and you think might be good on a podcast?
Well, I've got a very, very good friend of mine, Eric Heumann. He worked for years running a mechanic shop for a major, retailer, ran it for years and years and years, and got to the point where he was just like, I'm working for somebody else. I don't want to. I want to be able to plot my own course, but it's scary, obviously, leaving a cushy job where you're making good money in order to open up a business, particularly like that. But he took that risk, and he's been very successful at it. He's got a small shop that just keeps growing and growing and growing. And he just implemented the same things that made him successful at where he worked for the major retailer. And it's really worked out for him. And he's been an inspiration to me as we've kind of taken the journey together. We've been able to compare notes.
That's cool that you've had someone to kind of bounce things off of and go through the process together, because it can be lonely and it can be hard as a business owner. I mean, you can't really talk to your employees a lot of times, things like that. So to have that camaraderie can really be helpful.
Being able to talk just makes things so much easier.
Great. All right. So question number 6, as a final fun question, tell me about your favorite past boss.
My favorite past boss. Oh God, it would probably be my last one, Chad Booth, when I worked in television. He and we worked together for about 15 years. And there were obviously times where I wanted to strangle him, as you would with any boss. That's the situation. And I'm sure that he wanted to strangle me plenty of times. But we had such a good relationship that we could have those sort of fights where we could get in and just be like banging heads. But we also respected each other enough that we knew, okay, well, if he's passionate enough about this, well then, okay, let's give it a try. And he would do the same for me. And so we had a really great respect for each other. And once it came time for me to leave and I was like, I want to start my own thing, he was very supportive. And he was just like, yeah, let's do it. I'll whatever I can do to help, I want to help. And even though he was losing me and I was his senior producer, it didn't affect that relationship. And even to this day, we still work together and still talk. And yeah, he's kind of my mentor, and it's been wonderful.
That's awesome. A lot of good qualities that he has, it sounds like.
Yeah.
Well, we're about out of time, but real quick before we leave, tell people how they can get a hold of you.
Well, I have 2 websites. I have superhumancreative.com or superhuman.com, spelled like my last name. And that's where you've got all the video stuff, the online classes, that sort of stuff. And then if you're interested in my novels, that's stephenheumann.com. And that has all of the works, all of the short stories and full-length novels and all of that. It's all contemporary science fiction. So if you like that sort of stuff, Twilight Zone and Black Mirror, feel free to check it out. And there's a lot there for you to be able to look at and read.
Awesome. Well, with that, we appreciate you being on. It's been a pleasure. And this is Keith Weaver with the Top Executive Strategy Podcast. And for more insights, you can follow us on iTunes or at Weaver Business Coaching or on LinkedIn. And we wish you the best success.